So we have 6 weeks of school officially under our belt, one down, 6 to go, and whew, Mama is tired. If you're new here, I'm Rian, a Christ-following wife and a homeschool mom to 3 boys. Here we talk all things homeschool, and we will learn together how to use our roles as wife, mom, teacher, and homemaker in order to glorify God. So we started a little later than most people did. We didn't start until right after Labor Day. So we're just now wrapping up our 6th week, but it has been a good and full 6 weeks. We have powered through. It has been very busy. In case you don't remember, I have a 6th grader, a 4th grader, a preschooler, and a baby. And so we have a little bit of every stage mixed in there. And this year has just, every year is the same, but a little different, right? And so this year has been, had its challenges just like every other year has. They're just a little bit different. So I'm going to share with you, what we're loving as far as curriculum goes, what we're not loving so much, kind of some highlights and good things that happened this first term, and maybe some lowlights. I just love keeping you guys kind of in the loop of how our curriculum's working, how our schedules and routines are working. And I love getting your all's input and hearing what you guys are doing also. So as you know, my 4th and 6th grader do a lot of subjects together. We do science and history together, which our history is history, Bible, and literature together because it's Sunlight. And then we also do kind of our morning time together. Of course, they have their own math and language arts. Well, they use the same curriculum, just different levels. And then my preschooler kind of does his whole separate thing. He does our morning time with us and he listens in a little bit on science and history. But he has his own Sunlight preschool along with his own math and handwriting. And the baby's just there tagging along. So curriculum-wise, what we are loving this year is Apologias, Who is My Neighbor? This is the 3rd volume in the series. I think there's only 4 of them. And we've loved them every time that we've used them, but we've taken 1 or 2 years off. I can't exactly remember from this curriculum just because our schedule was too busy for it. But now we have a little bit more room. I kind of made the room though. It didn't really just appear, but we do this with our morning time routine. And this is just a great way for us to start the day, to kind of gear our minds up for the rest of the day and to just center on the Lord. It talks a lot about worldview and why we believe what we do and how that applies to just the everyday world. And my boys, we have good conversations every day. There's some sort of conversation that sparks from this every single day that we use it. And they listen really well. It's very, how it's written is very engaging. It's not textbook at all. It follows the story of a certain family. And so that keeps you engaged. There's really random tidbits. There's a little page about the hamburger and where it started, because in one of our stories it talked about a hamburger kind of fleetingly, but it was just oh, here's a fun tidbit about hamburgers. And then it also just gives really good biblical truths about, who is our neighbor and what does that mean? What does that require of us? How was Jesus with his neighbors? And who was Jesus as a servant? And how can we be like Jesus as a servant? And all these things. And it just, I don't know, it's so good because it just really makes us think about how we act toward others and why we should act that way. The second thing that is a total win this year is Nicole, the math lady. Oh my goodness. This has taken such a huge burden off of me, and not that teaching my children is ever a burden, but just not having to teach math. So I get why people are very drawn to things like teaching textbooks and stuff, but after looking into it several times, I'm this is just not for me. It's not my style. I just don't love the way it's set up, but that's the beauty of homeschool, right? We just pick what is best for us. And so I was just wishing there was a way that I could still stick with my Saxon math, but not have to do so much teaching. And I'd heard of the Dive DVDs, but then some people were like, oh my gosh, they're so boring. Don't do that. And then someone suggested Nicole, the math lady, and we tried it out this year. I was a little nervous because it does cost a little bit. It's not super expensive, but I was just do I want to throw out another expense? Homeschooling is not always cheap. And we did a 2-week trial. They even extended our 2-week trial to a 3-week trial because we got busy and missed a few lessons. And I was I think we like this. And we do. We really love it. She is very fun. She keeps my son's attention. She gets the point across without being too wordy though. And so the videos are not long, and she teaches in a way that my son understands. And so I love it. Hands down, it is my favorite thing that we have purchased this year. Now, as far as curriculum flops, I can't say thus far that there's anything that I'm like, oh no, this is not working. I do not like it. We don't have anything. And the good thing is, I think the further we go along on our homeschool journey and the more that I'm seeing, you know, what I like and what my kids like, I think we're going to have fewer and fewer of those flops, right? Because we know what works for us. Now, there may be a year where I'm like, ugh, this year of blah, blah, blah wasn't that great. I didn't really like how they did this. But by and large, we kind of have our curriculum chosen. And unless something dramatic happens, we're probably not going to change too much year to year. But the one thing I'm like, it wasn't like the most amazing thing ever was our handwriting curriculum. But I think the problem is that I love handwriting. Like, I get a buzz, a good feeling by writing things down. It's kind of a weird thing, but I love using nice, neat, clean handwriting and like writing out a page and making it look pretty and presentable. And I have 4 boys, and so far 2 out of the 4 don't care one lick about that. But I think that's pretty normal. And so I was looking for this, you know, unicorn handwriting curriculum that would be fun and engaging for them, but yet still, you know, really sharpen those handwriting skills. And I think it's a unicorn. I don't think it exists. But we've been using a Reason for handwriting, and it's good. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not the unicorn that I was looking for. And so they do just a lot of, you know, they're both doing cursive right now. So a lot of just forming the letters and making sure they're connecting the letters right. And, you know, my older son, it's more just practice, practice, practice. It's not really learning anything new. It's all scripture based, so it's all good. A lot of copy work. And then at the end of the week, they write it their best on a piece of paper that has decorations around the edge, and they color the decorations. They actually really like that part. So I guess it's, you know, good for them because they like it more than any other handwriting we've ever done. But it's just not, you know, that magical curriculum, and it's okay. I don't think it exists. So far, the highlights of our year. So we started a co-op this year, and I was real nervous, and there have been some major bumps and bruises along the way, but by and large, the kids that are there are loving it. And I have seen huge growth in friendships and relationships, not just with the kids, but with the moms too. And I really think they're learning a lot from it. At least my kids are. I can't speak for every child there, but my kids come home telling me new things every day. And I mean, I think that's a win. That's what co-op's about, learning and making good friends. So that's definitely been a highlight. It is, you know, an extra stress. You know, Sundays I'm like, okay, do I have everything together? Am I ready to go? And, you know, I get those Monday morning flutters because we do it in the morning on a Monday, but it was the only opportunity we had to do it. And so I get those Monday mornings like, oof, don't know that I'm ready for this. But once we're there and we're going, I'm like, oh, I love this. I love this. And then we come home and I'm like exhausted, but it's good. It's good. It's been a great year so far. We're actually getting ready to take our first field trip. We take approximately 1 field trip a month. We didn't take one in September because we had the Labor Day holiday in there. But I'm gearing up for our first field trip, and my boys are super excited for that. Also, another highlight every year, I kind of mentioned it briefly, is our morning time. I put up a video, I'll put it up here, about how we have gone back to doing morning time and been faithful in doing that. And it has just been a breath of fresh air. And I'm so excited that my boys enjoy it and that it helps them get ready for the day. Like, they're actually like, oh, it's morning time. They're not like, oh, it's time to start school. Because it's a fun, gentle approach to the day. So hardships this year, we shared, you know, the highlights. What have been our hardships? There's nothing really bad going on. We have had a big round of sickness with my 2 youngest that kind of messed up our schedule a little bit. Other than that, everything has been good. It's just been so busy. We try to fit all of our school into 4 days. So sometimes that's 4 solid school days. Sometimes that is 3 solid school days and 2 half days. And that's not including co-op. And so typically, if we do co-op on Monday and we're able, we take the rest of that day off and don't do any other school, but then we do school the rest of the 4 days. Now, sometimes we will do co-op and then come home and do like half a day of school. And then of the remaining 4 days, we'll do 3 hardcore full school days. And then that last day, do a half day and then, you know, go visit my grandma or go on a little field trip, like a mini field trip, go on a hike or something. But I mean, it's it's a lot to get all of our school, and we probably have 5 days worth of school, really. We're just kind of cramming it into those 4 days, and it's working, but it's just a lot. We got to keep going in order to finish on time. And I mean, it's worth it. It's worth it because everything we're doing extracurricularly is important and it's good work. I'm doing women's Bible study. We're doing co-op, like I mentioned. My boys are in one sport right now. We only do one sport at a time. And I only allow them to do 2 sports in a school year. And we visit my grandma, and there's other church activities that we're involved in too. So right now I think we're not really in anything that we shouldn't be in. But it's just our days are super, super full, and that's okay. That's okay. We do have a break coming up. We're wrapping up our football season, and so we will be done with fall sports, and we won't pick up anything until after the holidays. And so in January is when basketball starts. As that ends in March, then my 2 older boys will be done with sports until next fall. We only play 2 sports a year, so but my preschooler will be going back to soccer in March. So I mean, it's just life, right? And so we make sure sports don't rule our lives, but that is a small part of it. But we do, have some holiday breaks coming up and stuff. So it'll be good. We've just had to, use a lot of time management, and we've done a lot of school on the go. And I mean, we're making it work, and everyone seems to be, okay with the rhythms and everything right now. So we're just going to trust the Lord for the next step. But one important thing, I've been feeling convicted lately about not actually Sabbathing on the Sabbath. And so I think carving out that time, I'm rearranging some things in my weekend schedule to where I for sure get that actual rest on Sundays, and not just like a lounge in front of the TV rest. But we have people over and we cook and we eat, which takes time and energy, but I rest and I enjoy the people. I don't just rush off to my next job. And that's hard for me. I like working. I like being busy, but the Lord's just really shown me the importance of actually Sabbathing on the Sabbath. So I think if we incorporate that, and like I said, just keep trusting the Lord with our day to day and with the commitments we make, that it'll be okay. We might be busy, but it will be worth it. And I think the only other thing this year so far that has been kind of a hardship for us is that I'm noticing that I don't have much time to hang out with my baby. So, I mean, he's still nursing, and so I do get that time with him. But as far as like sitting down and reading and, playing with him, building blocks and whatever else, there's just not much time for that. We do that in the evening a little bit, after, everyone's starting to settle down. I try to read a book to all the kids. We read a board book with the baby, and then we read a picture book, and then we read, from our chapter book. And, I don't think he's like suffering too bad. He plays with the siblings, and he has a lot of like free play on the floor time. We just set out some toys while we're doing school. And, but I just kind of miss that, like sit down and hang out with my baby time that I had with all my other kiddos. So I don't know. I'm hoping to kind of rearrange some things and just be more mindful really of the little pockets of free time that I have, even if I'm, listening to this kid read out loud or something, I can still be, kind of playing with the baby. So I just have to be kind of mindful of that. So overall, we've had a great start to our year, but I am very much ready for this first break. I'm very thankful that we chose to do a Sabbath schedule this year, 6 weeks on, 1 week off, because I can definitely feel that a couple more weeks of this pace and I would have been pretty burnt out. So let me know, how is your homeschool year going? And if you missed what curriculum we are using, and if you're interested in anything that I mentioned here, I did do a curriculum picks video up here. And I thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye. Because everything we're doing extracurricular,